I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Peace, family.
Peace, peace. What's going on, happy family?
We are we have a good show tonight. We are going to learn some things tonight.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about this is that our guest, this is his debut to Happy Talks. So that's always cool when we have somebody new that hasn't been.
Well, what you got on your ears?
You're talking about these are my beautiful. This is my beautiful jewelry from Ghana.
Nice. That's dope.
Yes, dope. Thank you. Yeah. I got them like in 4 colors.
Nice.
Yeah. I listen, I have over 200 pairs of earrings. That's actually one of my it's one of the things like I do. It's a pastime. I love earrings. So I don't ever go any place and not buy earrings.
Now, but you got to do that when you go to Africa, because whether it's West Africa, East Africa, because you're not back and forth like that. So you got to get what you could get. It's a lot cheaper out there. Get what you can get and bring it on home.
Yeah. And plus I always like the artisans because, they tell a story, about it. It's just, it's beautiful. So yeah. Well,
family, we got a dynamic show coming up. I already know that, to be sure. But before we even do that, I just want to make sure everybody likes and subscribes to the channel. All right. So take your time right now. Do it. We here. We ain't going nowhere. Like and subscribe. Turn on your notifications. Of course, you got to do that. And once you finish doing that, open up a browser, go over to hapifilm.com and register for our newsletter.
Absolutely. And listen, and okay, look, like our guest, he has some documents that he said that we can send to our viewers. But this is the thing: if you're not signed up to the newsletter, you are not getting the documents. That's right. Okay, yeah, we're not going to email them separately. We're not doing any of that. For those of you who understand why we need for you to sign up for the newsletter, you will get the documents in your mail tomorrow. Okay, so if I were you, I'd make sure you are signed up.
Yeah, and sign up anyway, just because there's a lot of stuff in that newsletter that could be helpful to you. It could be some discounted items. It could be you may need some kind of like law assistance that we may post or something like that. But just check out the newsletter overall, because it'll let you know what study tours we may be having coming up. Going to Egypt study tour or a pilgrimage to Ghana. So you just want to stay connected.
Yeah. And, we also have Dr. Malana Karenga. He writes an article every single month for us that he publishes in, I believe it's the LA Times, but he sends it to us and he allows us to republish it. So that article is always in there. And then we have HAPI Health. We always have a health article, and we have some financial one-on-one information for everyone, things that everybody can do. That's the important thing. Yes. And, the other piece is that social media is so fickle. And, and so sometimes it's just easier for us to send you just a straight email. So you want to be connected.
Absolutely. All right. So we good?
Yep.
Let me just
wait, one more.
Okay.
It's the clearance sale. See, because we have HAPI gear. But for those of you that do not have your HAPI gear, I'm telling you, once we turn the corner on some things that we've been working on, we're going to have new gear, and you want to have some vintage HAPI wear. And it's right now, it's a really good price. So head over to hapifilm.com. After you hit the newsletter, then you can go right there and get your gear. Or and you can also purchase your HAPI DVD. Because, a lot of people don't know we actually have a whole documentary we did.
Got to get that.
That's on Amazon Prime, and it's on Tubi. and Quayle TV, which is the people call it the Black Netflix, but I don't like comparing like what we do to what other people do. You know, it's just that this sister actually built out this cable network about almost 15 years ago. And she stayed on it. And we're so honored to be on there because she only shows African and African American movies, documentaries, and TV shows and webisodes. So it's a really beautiful platform.
Nice.
Yes. Now we are done, Hassan.
All right, cool. I'm just excited. You see, I'm just ready to go.
No, this is good.
So, our guest is a very special guest. I'm going to introduce him right now, but I just would like to give you a brief history on him. Dr. Edwin J. Nichols, PhD, is a clinical and industrial psychologist specializing in organization development. He is the director of Nichols and Associates, Inc., an applied behavioral science firm. The goal is to restructure organization to achieve systemic harmony in processes through cultural competence in leadership. An assessment of corporate systems and structures is conducted to attain systemic harmony within the organization. Corporate staff and management styles are evaluated to determine cultural competence, which enhances leadership capacity. Dr. Nichols' hallmark paradigm, the philosophical aspects of cultural difference, provide insights into the essence of ethnic differences through the philosophical disciplines of axiology, epistemology, and logic. Awareness of self and others foster cultural competence in leadership, enabling the full utilization of their multi-ethnic, pluralistic, and linguistically diverse workforce. Now, Dr. Nichols was educated at Assumption College in Windsor, Canada, Eberhard Karls University in Tübingen. Y'all got to forgive me on this if I mess up, and Dr. Nichols got to forgive me as well because this is in German. Assumption College in Windsor, Canada, Eberhard Karls University in Tübingen, Germany, under Kretschmer, the C.G. Jung Institute in Zurich, and Leopold Franzens University in the Innsbruck, Austria, where he earned his Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology and Psychiatry cum laude under the supervision of Collier. He is a psychoanalyst with the Innsbrucker Arbeitskreis for depth psychology under Grunwald. So also what I would like you to know is he is a psychoanalyst with the Innsbruck. He is a psychoanalyst with the Innsbruck Arbeitskreis for depth psychology under Grunwald. His award includes being a fellow of the Austrian Ministry of Education and visiting scholar of Rockefeller Education, the Bilingual Study Center in Italy. He's a distinguished clinical psychologist from the Harvard University Foundation, a Lifetime Achievement Award in Cross-Culture Psychology from the University of Toronto, and distinguished psychologist from Universidade Estadual do Ping, Brazil. Now, he is a founding member of the Association of Black Psychologists, a lifetime member, an elder and diplomat, and a distinguished psychologist awarded the Doctor of Humane Letters of honorary degree by University of District of Columbia. Dr. Nichols served in the Army during the Korean War.
Wow.
He has 2 adult children and 2 grandchildren.
Oh.
Now, the reason why I read all of that and dared to pronounce those words is because I really want you to understand the work that he's put in. It's not like he just, did a couple of things and went to, a country for, a couple of years and got his degree. He's going to tell his story, but like he's been in this game for 50 plus years.
I think he might have started the game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So with no further ado, Dr. Edwin Nichols.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hassan and Felicia. I'm very honored to have the opportunity to spend some time with you this evening. After that long introduction, ordinarily they just close the coffin and wheel it out, but thank you for all those kind words.
Yeah.
It's really an honor to be able to share ideas and concepts with you. Right now, we're in a very difficult time within our country, and many people have compared it to the rise of the Nazi Third Reich, and others have compared it to other forms of totalitarianism.
Mm.
So, with that said, we have to, as Black people, be mindful of how we survive in this environment.
Mm.
And I want to share with you an African proverb. You see, you have the Democrats and the Republicans. They're fighting each other. So the African proverb says, when 2 elephants fight, the grass gets trampled.
Mm.
So we want to stay out of the trampled grass part. I tell people, cut your little piece of sod, roll it up and put it on the side till they get through fighting, and then you can roll your sod back down and continue to grow. Some fights are ours and some are not. Now you have to remember something else, and that is the base of the current president are people that lost their jobs in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They were the white, quote unquote, middle class. They had finished high school. They went directly into the factories. They had a good income, promised retirement. They could educate their children, buy a home, and take an annual vacation. But when the equipment that they had been using during World War II was now obsolete because it burned out like the steel mills. Just think going across Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, U.S. Steel, Bethlehem Steel, all those big factories, their equipment was obsolete. The Japanese and the Koreans had new equipment, more efficient equipment. So the people that ran those large companies and many other companies, the subsidiary companies, withdrew their money and sent it overseas because they could get top quality products at a cheaper price and bring it back. Now, that group of initial people thought that the factories, that's what they've always been told, we're going to bring the factories back. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't come back. So their children did not inherit inherited wealth. And now we're to the level of their grandchildren not inheriting inherited wealth. And the only thing that keeps them in line is that as long as I'm better than you people with the N word, mm-hmm. then I'm okay. But the N word just doesn't quite do it all the time anymore. So you have more people that are beginning to realize that just using that scapegoat is not satisfying everything, but there's a sufficient base where whatever happens to me, I'm still better than the N-word. And that we are the red meat to be thrown to that group from time to time. So when he does things that are publicly against us, like taking Prince George's County, which abuts Washington, D.C., and firing, at one point it was the richest Black community in the U.S. Now it's the poorest. Well, you had a man that fired everybody on his first 2 days at work. He's a billionaire. Okay? And if you look at the zip code for that county, it's almost like someone went through and checked off any person that had that zip code. Okay? Musk, his group, just look and see what happened. Now, there are other agencies that are going through research documents, and anything that says culture or minority groups, they're checking it to throw it out. So a lot of the research, now here's the other part of this. There were a lot of people that felt in the upper echelons, the doctorates and so forth, doing research at the major universities and so on, that it would not affect them. But when you close down an agency like AID, the agency is one thing, but the millions of dollars that they send out all over in grants to someone in Iowa and all these other places, that's when that group of people begin to feel the sting of what's going on. So what we have to do is recognize, not to get upset and become volatile when these little things happen to bait us into some situation where we could protest and what have you. Just kind of play cool and wait it out, and we'll be okay. Because when two elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. So that's my sermon for today. We can have the hymn and close.
We're saying that.
Yeah, I that's been on my mind and my heart. I want people to realize what's going on. That's the current game that's being played. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I used to live in PG County.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah.
Wow.
Well, you see these beautiful homes that were out there, these large, beautiful homes. You had two people that worked.
Yeah.
GS-15 and a lawyer or a dentist or somebody else. And their kids are in college, and now they, their homes are practically up for sale. They're going to foreclose them. They're trying to get the banks not to foreclose them. But now let me tell you what the governor, Westmoreland, is doing up there. He said as many people as he could, he filled state civil service jobs with that group of people to give them some income. Now that's a real cut, but at least it's a job. It'll pay something.
That's smart. That's smart.
He's been doing, he's the guy to watch. He's brilliant. And every time they can attack him and put him down, they try. But he's like a cork. He can push down, but he's still coming back to the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Okay, let's get started. The philosophical aspects of cultural difference. All right, let's go now to the next slide. All right. In classical philosophy, it's a guide for us to understand many issues. And they are issues that you have to think through. It's not like a math problem or engineering problem or things like that. It's like these are concepts that you're thinking about. In classical philosophy, there are three disciplines that I use. One is axiology, which is the study of values. Epistemology, which asks, how do you know? It's not not what you know, but it's how you know things. And logic is how you reason to an answer. So let's examine why that is. Um, I have had a lot of experiences where they said, if you do this, you get the job. So I got the master's. I did the practicum that was necessary. I even got experience, but I didn't get the job. And two guesses as to why this one is right. Then I thought, well, Nichols, you need a PhD. So I went and got the PhD. And as you can see, it's cum laude. And I did everything I was supposed to do. And I came back, and one man told me to my face I should not have applied because I'm a Negro. We were Negroes at that time. So I'm completely disillusioned in terms of, well, now what do I have to do to survive and thrive in this environment? And I said, I know how I feel, but I've got to begin to understand what makes other people, them tick. What makes them tick? So if I know what is valuable to them, if I know how they think and how they reason to answers, then I'm ahead of the game. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. We're going to look at us as African people and them as Europeans. And if time permits, we may get a quick glimpse at the Asians because big China is on the horizon. All right. Cultural competence is the capacity to extract from others. In other words, you're going to look at what they do and you're going to take from it. Now you can accept it and utilize the uniqueness of their problem-solving skills. All that's German in there, Weltanschauung and so on. Because remember, I do these seminars with white people, okay? So when you're dealing with white people, you have to use vocabulary and all the rest of that. So it's all in there. And that's all in the workplace. It is the ability to know the issue from the perspective of your staff, people that you're working with, your client, the one from whom you make your money, and your what? Your opponent. So that's what we're looking at. That's what cultural competence helps us to do. All right, now before we go to the next, let's see. Yes. Now the next thing we're going to talk about, we're not going there yet, is the essence of ethnic difference. So now what is essence? You see the essence. Nichols, what is essence? Well, when you are doing workshops like this, you have to be able to take these classical terms and put them into something practical so everybody can understand them. So you'll always know what an essence is. I'm going to ask you to do three things. Number one, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Number two, I want you to envision a chair, perhaps even your most favorite chair. And three, open your eyes. Now, if we had taken snapshots of what each person had seen, all of those pictures would be what from each other? Different. Yet if we collected all of those pictures, 1,000 of them, and put them in a big pile, and you went through and looked at each picture, you would say that each of those pictures is a what?
Chair.
Now, they're all different. Yet you identify each of them a chair. How is that possible? Is because you intuit the chairness. Now, intuition is the noun and intuit is the verb. So your intuition has told you what that is. So an essence is something that we intuit. It's our intuition. Okay? Grandma said, what did Grandma say? I feel, I think, something told me. Well, she has intuited something. It is her intuition. Okay?
Mm.
All right. So now it could be from grandma or it could be the chair and chairness. Now, take a table. Its essence is chair, a tableness.
Mhm.
But if I sit on it just like I would on a chair, does its essence change?
No.
Does it become a chair? No, because its essence is tableness. It is not chairness, and it will not change. So you can
Yes.
see that what I'm leading up to is white people are white people and black people are black people. We have two sets of essences.
Mm.
Our essence of ethnic difference. Okay? Now we can look at that slide and see those things. See at the bottom, we intuit the essence of chairness and would never confuse it with the essence of a table. Even if I were to sit on the table, you would not be deceived by my behavior because the essence of table has not what? Changed.
Mm.
Okay? Next slide. Okay. Human societies start in Africa and immigrate out. And don't let anybody tell you about they started in the Near East, the Far East, or Near East, or any other place.
Mm.
They started in Africa and migrated out. The first major migration out of Africa was toward Asia, which required behavioral adaptations to the changing environment in order to survive and thrive. These migrations occurred over thousands of years. The migrations made an epigenetic imprint for survival behavior. See, before we had to guess at this, but now we have genes that tell us through epigenetics what these things were and how they worked.
Mm.
So those survival behaviors are genetically something you can now talk about and see, which we shall examine. Now, this is very important because this deals now with white people. The last migration out of Africa was into North Central Europe at the end of the last ice age. See, when you're in Africa, if you tried to go straight up out of Africa, Italy, and what have you, you couldn't because the ice age covered all that. So what people did, they came out of Africa, but they made a right turn and went all the way across where India is and the deserts of Mongolia and what have you to get to China, Korea, Japan.
Mm.
Okay? And it was years, thousands of years later, that you could finally, that glacier had retreated enough that you could start straight up into Europe, Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, up and through there. Okay? Now, those are anthropological details. Now, let's go to the next slide. All right. The major ethnic groups in the United States are us, of African descent, Asians, and Europeans, and the Native Americans were already here. Now, those are the ethnic groups that are here. But there are other groups of people that come together, and they are not in and of themselves an ethnic group. They share an ethnic worldview,
Mm.
and that's the Latinx and the Afro-Arabs. You see, in order to share an ethnic worldview, you had a catastrophic event. Let's take the Latinx. There was a catastrophic event that was experienced by their forefathers that changed everything forever. That's when the Spanish came, the conquistadors. They were forced to learn a new language, Spanish, forced to convert to a new religion, the Roman Catholic Apostolic Church. Okay. Now, with those three things, they were changed forever. But when you look at Latinx, they can be African, they can be Spanish, they can be indigenous, they can be all these different groups call themselves Latinx. So they are not in of themselves a pure ethnic group, but they share an ethnic worldview.
Mhm.
All right, you can have the same thing with the Afro-Arabs. All across North Africa, you have the Afro-Arabs. What happened there? They were subjected to the Islamic conquests coming all the way across North Africa. 711 is when they come into North Africa on their way to Spain. They get to Spain in 711, and they stay till 1492. They convert the populations to Islam. They speak Arabic exclusively. That's very important because when you go from Morocco, see the Berbers speaking Arabic, and
Mhm.
you go all the way to Sudan, where people have so much melanin in their skin when they smile, their gums are black, and you can see the white pearly teeth. Now, all these people are Arabs,
Mhm.
okay? Why? Because they were subjected to the Islamic conquest, they convert to Islam, and they speak Arabic exclusively.
Mhm.
They're not the Sudanese, okay? They're not Kurds. The Kurds don't consider themselves to be Arabs, nor do the Assyrians. So there are people that may have two of these factors, but don't consider themselves to be the Arab. All right, so we're looking at ethnic groups and we're looking at collectives of people who share an ethnic worldview.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now, this is important, and if you take notes here, where you see where it says Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Just write physiological needs, food and water, then safety needs, secure environment, then love needs, and write the desire to be accepted, esteem needs, satisfaction for one's own work, and what? See a big word there? Respect from others.
Respect.
Okay. And then self actualization. All right. Groups of people migrated from one geographic location to another. To meet their needs, they had to adapt to that environment in order to survive and thrive. When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, let's go down these. Let's start with us in Africa. All right? It's like paradise. Food was omnipresent. Water was plentiful. Shelter was, you could put palm leaves together if you needed it. Sleep, nobody were constantly awaking you or frightening you about something. Security, okay, they had enough security around where they were with fire, whatever was necessary to keep wild animals off of them. And even if you go to Africa today, you see women sweeping the yard with this looks like a straw broom or something, like a brush,
Mhm.
back and forth in semicircles. Why is that? That's because if a snake crawls across those markings, you can see it. So you see they're looking out. A snake moves, you don't even know it's there. But if you look out there and see that line going across those marks that you have been sweeping, you know the snake is somewhere around. You go look for it, kill it. So what I'm sharing with you is here's a group of people who in essence live in paradise. So what is necessary when you live in that kind of environment is the desire to be accepted by what? Others and to be respected. So now when we talk about the axiology of Black people, keep these two things in mind: to be accepted by others and to be respected. And then, of course, you can go to self actualization. By the same token, what was it like in North Central Europe at the end of the last ice age? Did they have enough food? I don't think so. How long was their winter? How much shelter do they have? How much security do they have against even the weather to be alive next spring?
Mm.
So where do they start and where do we start on Maslow's hierarchy of needs? All right, let's go to the first slide now. All right. We're I want to do terms with you very quickly. I don't think that's, yeah, let's do terms. Go down to terms. All right. You see socialization. Socialization is concepts, principles, and ideas of a society that have been reinforced to become the status quo. So if you take an idea and you repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over again, it becomes for us reality. So when these political situations are going on, the number of times that I can put my ad on television because I'm a billionaire or millionaire, the more times you see my ad, what happens? You become socialized to what? Accept that as reality.
Mm.
So be mindful of socialization. When you get too many ads saying one thing, is that in your best interest? Or is that somebody trying to sell you something?
Yeah.
That's called socialization. Okay? Socialization, concepts, principles, and ideas of a society that have been reinforced to become the reality, the status quo. Now, then we have cultural bias. All of us have cultural biases. Cultural bias is the formation of ideas that are imprinted and shaped to form the self. All right. When we're first born, our family, our parents, in essence, put a set of glasses on our eyes. And as we go to school and other things, these glasses get thicker and thicker and thicker. Those are our cultural biases. Now, you cannot extirpate the glasses from your eyes because they are affixed, but you can transcend from where you see it to where it is. The best way I can do that is if someone goes spearfishing, they try to spear the fish right there, but it's not there. And until they learn to recognize where I see it, it's over here, not where I think I see it. So that's what we have to learn to do. We have to be able to transcend what we see to the reality as opposed to the distortion that we see. Okay. All right. Axiological ethics, that's something that's very important because culturally we see things different. And I'll come back and talk to you about that when we deal with things that are axiological ethics. I think that's enough from that. Let's go to the paradigm now so we can spend time with the paradigm. In your left-hand column, we have ethnic groups and shared ethnic worldviews. The first group is African, African American, Latino, and Arab. We're all in that same group together. It's primarily people that are right around the equator. Okay. Then you have the Asians, the Asian Americans, and some of the Polynesians, and they're differentiated, one upper and one lower in the Pacific realm. Then you have the Europeans, the Euro-Americans, and then finally you have the Native Americans. So these are the groups we're going to be examining, and I'm going to spend most of my time looking at the difference between us as Africans and Europeans. So axiology is the study of values. So among us as African Americans, the highest value lies in the relationship between persons. So if you go back to Maslow, Step 1, step 2, we are starting at step 3 and working towards step 4, respect. How does that manifest itself as among us? All right, look at my hands. We see ourselves as equal to each other. Now you can outrank me and I will show you deference, but I expect you to treat me with respect. If you treat me in a way that I perceive that you have been treating me as less than equal, you have treated me with what? Disrespect.
Disrespect.
And what does that do to the relationship? It destroys it.
Yeah.
Okay? Now that's very important, and for many, many reasons. You can work on a job and someone can outrank you. That's your boss. And you show him deference because he outranks you. But the moment you feel he's disrespected you, that relationship is gone. And we as Black people have to be very careful because society will manipulate two groups of people over a dead issue in order to make us what?
Sever relationships.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
So you had the people who worked in the house and the ones that worked in the field.
Mm.
You had the yellows and the blacks.
Mm.
Brown, you can stick around, all those things that people said. Okay. And then you had people that had good hair. And you had hair like mine in the past perfect. It's not there now, but it was there, which is called bad nappy hair or kinky hair or any of the above. Yeah. Derogatory terms. Okay.
Yeah.
So what the society has learned in order to divide it is to put something in that makes us argue with each other to a point that it does what to the relationship?
Sever.
Yes. And then they don't have to worry about us all uniting to vote in one way for one person. Yeah. Okay. Now let me give you a perfect example. Last year, the Maryland House of Delegates brought up a bill to talk about to create a department to fund a research project to look at what is it called? Black black reparations. Okay, to study reparations. So you had one group of people, yes, we want it, and the government said, you don't need it. We've done 5 or 6 of those already. That technique that you want to apply isn't working. Let's look to see what California has a different way that they're applying. Let's watch theirs. So now what did you have here? You had 2 groups of people that should be united with their governor. But the technique was to make them what?
Sever.
And one to feel that they had been what?
Higher than the other.
Disrespected. And therefore, I'll never vote for him. You see? Which does what to the black vote? Dilutes it. See?
Yes. Yeah.
We have to be mindful that people can use our own value systems against us. Now, what is the song in last generation, the last century, that was one of the most popular songs of the last century?
USVCT.
RSVCT.
Okay. Okay.
RSVCT.
All right. Okay. There it is.
No. That's all I got, Dr. Nichols.
That's okay. But you see how important it is. And we must be mindful of that so that we don't sever relationships that are permanently then lost. That's why you have churches that were all one church and somebody did something and you got 2 instead of 1, and both of them are starving and not working as opposed to being 1. We must always be mindful of how our value system can be used against us, but it can be used to our success. Because when Black people unite, you can't beat us. You can't beat us. Because the highest value lies in the relationship. Now let's look at the other part of the world. The Europeans, the highest value lies in the object or the acquisition of the object. Now, why would that be? Well, when they come out of Africa into North Central Europe, what do they find there? Let's just examine it. Their growing season is very short. Let's stretch it out to a maximum of 3 months. Most of the time they didn't even have 3 months, but just to stretch it out to 3 months. So in that 3 months, what do they have to do? They have to till the soil, plant the seeds, weed the seeds so there's no weeds growing in there, or cultivate, harvest, preserve, and store enough food to last how many months?
9.
9 months. Now, that's a lot of work to do in how many months?
3.
3.
And it's got to be last you how long?
9.
9. Okay. What else? Let's look at this. Let's look at something like sharing. I got 12 baskets. You're saying to me, but you don't need but 9. Why don't you give me 1 or 2 of your baskets? What is my attitude?
Nope.
That's right, because I could run out.
Right.
And you're going to use it for 1 month or 2 months, and you'll be right back at me to do what?
Get another basket.
Or what?
Steal mine.
Not just steal, kill me and take mine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
Okay, so when you look at Europe, you go 15 kilometers in any direction, and you come across a castle, a fort, or something like this. That was in the late Middle Ages. They were still fighting over food. Okay?
Yeah.
So now understand, this is very important. You start the project at A. This is the day that you go out and plow.
Mm-hmm.
And your food at B has to be preserved, stored, and allocated for 9 months. That's from A to B. All right. Now, can you say at A, I don't feel like plowing today. I'll plow next week.
Nope.
Well, if you had that attitude, you could say, well, I won't plow at A. I will plow at A prime. And your expectation is A prime to B prime. But in their culture, there is no what. Think about it. A to A prime to B prime. And the rule is it goes from A to what?
B prime.
No, it goes from A to B. That's
A to
the
B,
growth
yeah.
sequence.
Yes.
And if somebody comes late, A prime, they're expected to be able to finish everything by what? B prime.
B prime. Yeah.
But there ain't no B prime. Everything stops at what?
B.
That's when the snow starts. That's when the hail starts coming down.
Yeah.
The seasons don't wait for you a week or 2 weeks because you didn't get started on your project right away. So what do we learn from that in terms of the behavior of Europeans? When it's time to do a task, you must what?
Finish
Do
it. Line.
When? Now.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you'll end up what?
Day.
All right. You're working in an office today. This is modern times. Your boss says, I want the deliverable by close of business today. It's Friday. You go by his office. He has already gone home at 4, And you think, I'll work. I want a relationship with him. I'll work on the project over the weekend and bring it to him on Monday because he's not here now. You march in with your project on Monday, feeling all happy that you've done something very good to maintain the what?
Relationship.
And he tells you, I'm sorry, I can't accept it because you missed the what?
The deadline.
Yes. You missed the deadline. Now, where did that come from? That's the collective unconscious memory saying, when you didn't do it by B, there is no B prime because at the end of B, if you didn't get it done, you're dead.
Mm. Mm. This is good, Dr. Nichols. I'm sitting here thinking about all like different instances, how this has played out.
Okay.
Yeah, like in everyone's life multiple times.
All right. Now you know why. See, you were thinking, I'm going to do a perfect job.
Yeah.
And he was thinking A to B. And you come
Yeah.
marching in at B prime. Ain't no B prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So we have to understand where are they coming from and why. They're coming from a situation where there was a scarcity of everything. Everything was scarce. And you had to plan everything to the last moment. And you had to have some saved in case something else happened. So they don't get sharing as a concept until Christianity. And it really doesn't work that well even then. Okay?
Mm.
All right. So now let's understand how that group of people work and how they think. Their thought process is the product. That's the object. I have got to produce the product in a timely way, or it's too late and it doesn't count.
Mm.
So they're always pushing toward the acquisition of objects. Now, objects can be physical things, tangible things, or they can be concepts, like stealing intellectual property. Okay, how many times did Black people think of something that wasn't patented and belongs to somebody else's patent?
Yeah.
This is a group of people with whom you're going to be working every day. Now, do they treat each other this way? Yes, they do. Because there was no sharing up there in Europe at that time. I got mine and you get yours. And if you don't have yours, don't be coming looking to me for me to give it to you because I need mine just in case. In case I can't plow. There's a snowstorm in April. I can't plow. So be mindful that it's nothing personal when they treat you like an object. It has nothing to do personally. You're just one object among other objects, and they treat each other that way, and it's nothing personal. So when they call you in for your performance review and then mark you down and say after they've marked you down, let's go to lunch, and you're saying in your mind, I'd rather die and go to you know where than to even come near you for lunch. Know that it's nothing personal. It's just doing the task. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Or you understand it. It doesn't make sense, but at least you understand it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it does.
Okay. So this is the group of people with whom you're working. These are their expectations. Now examine that in terms of our current president and some of the things that are happening. If you have and you want to reinforce an idea that one group is superior, then you take a 4-star general and a 4-star admiral that are Black, and you do what to them? And a woman that is an admiral, you do what to them? You get rid of them.
Mm.
And the supposition is, well, they got there because they were given privilege over what? White men. So when we lose these different positions and that you see it happening every day, understand why. Let's begin to understand what is the object of all of these troops in cities, primarily democratic cities with black mayors. Ask yourself what that's all about. Well, if you have federal troops in a city and someone says the voting was irregular, those troops will go in and steal or seal the what? The ballot boxes.
Mhm.
And then they can recount them to get the correct number. See, when you're dealing with people where the object is the highest value, you have to think what object are they worried about? What object are they looking at? Now we have AI. AI is good for some things, but they're using it to replace what? People.
Yeah.
See? Because why are they replacing people? Because I don't have to pay for the machine.
Mhm.
The AI, it'll work 24 hours a day, turning out what I want to turn it out. I don't have to give it health care. I don't have to give it retirement. I don't have to give it anything. So the highest value lies in the object or the acquisition of the object. So if the AI I'm using as the object, then I don't need all the rest of these people over here. Because the object is how much money can I make with the smallest number of people that I have to hire. And AI accomplishes that for me in many situations, not all, but in many. Are you beginning to see now where the shifts are in the culture? And the shifts are in terms of where we're going to go and what we're going to do.
Yes.
Okay. If there are questions, please put the questions up. I'll be glad to answer them.
Yeah, listen, I have lots of I have a few questions.
All right, come on.
Okay, so this is so interesting. So the essences, I'm going back for a minute when you talked about
Mhm.
the essence, right? The
Mhm.
essence. So how does that work when you have two different essences that come together and they marry and they have a child? Like like whose essence does the child take over? I mean, take, and can that be and can it be manipulated by either of the parents?
Okay, now when we talk about essence, we're talking about philosophy, and you're talking about physiology.
Okay.
Physiology, then you get your genes from your parents. You get some from your father and some from your mother. And the way you can deal with that as a psychologist, because we have a lot of discrimination in terms of complexion, I ask you, what complexion was your father and what was his hair texture? What was your complexion of your mother? What was her hair texture? Of your siblings, where do you rank? Okay. Now it has nothing to how I see you or you see me. See, some people think Nichols is fair, but you ain't seen my family. I was the dark one, okay?
Got it.
Really?
And my mother was called the little tar baby. And my father was called, when he was born, the doctor said, Ma, this one's a nigger.
Mhm.
So if your father is so dark in that whole array of families that he's the nigger of all his sibling nephews and cousins, first cousins and so on, and your mother compared to her sisters, the tar baby, what could you be?
Mhm.
You see what I'm talking about? It's where you are in your family. Some families you look at and they say, oh, she was the little white girl every time she went south. Well, if you look at her, you're thinking to yourself, she hardly looks like the little white girl to me. But
Mhm.
from that group of people in the South, with her dress from the North and her behavior and what have you, and her complexion, she was just like a little white girl. So we have to be mindful of these things that we have. Now, what you were talking about is genetics, but essence is not genetics. See, essence is a philosophical thing. Okay, that's not a generational thing that works with um, with eye color and hair texture and skin color and disease, heart trouble and high blood pressure and all that. That's physiological. These are philosophical. So you are black, I am black, all of us are black. That's our essence. Okay, that's who. That's the. It's a thing that makes us who we are.
Mhm.
Okay.
And also, what about collective consciousness? How would you define collective consciousness?
Well, Jung talked about a collective unconscious memory.
Mhm.
Okay, and there's symbols that are part of a collective unconscious memory. So when I was when I was in Nashville teaching psychiatry, I used to do child psychiatry, and I was doing psychotherapy with this little boy. He was schizophrenic,
Mhm.
and he gave me all the symbols that Jung could tell me. This was the father symbol, this was the mother symbol, this was conflict, this was all these kind of things. And he surprised me one day because he had a certain symbol in yellow, which is like gold, on the top of everything.
Mhm.
And in one of my textbooks, Jung has that as an unconscious symbol of the sun god. That's a little black boy in Nashville, Tennessee, schizophrenic.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's collective unconscious memory coming
Got it.
forward. Okay.
Okay.
We have a lot of symbolism that comes out of Africa with us as a part of our collective unconscious memory.
Mm.
Okay.
And one more thing. So just to give the audience more context to what an ice age is and how long it lasts, could you give us that? Because sometimes people may not really understand what an ice age is.
Okay. The world at one point became completely covered with ice, at least the northern hemisphere. Okay. And those were glaciers that pushed deep into the earth. So you have these glaciers deep into the mountains of Switzerland and other places. And because at one time they were so vast and and coming so deeply into the land itself,
Mm-hmm.
it would be impossible for you to travel across those miles and miles of ice glaciers. And where were you going to go that you could grow anything or live comfortably?
Yes.
And so that was the glaciers that came down. Now, as the glaciers retreated to a certain point, we say the end of the last ice age. Now, I don't give numbers because everybody says when that year was.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to a group of whites in an audience and I say the end of the last ice age, 20,000 years ago, somebody says, no, it's 14, no, it's 12. So you don't
Yeah.
get it. You don't get yourself in those kind of traps. You just say at the end of the last ice age, and whatever you say it is, fine. Because at that point, that's when I start talking about what I'm talking about.
Got you.
You,
But
you
an
see
ice
how
age,
yes, go ahead.
but an ice age lasts for about thousands of years.
Oh, it lasts thousands of years. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
thousands of years. North Central Europe was frozen, just covered with ice for centuries.
Mhm.
That's why nobody could move up into there.
Yeah.
And then when the glaciers finally began to melt enough, so there's a land area that you could farm and what have you, people began to move into those areas.
Got it.
Okay. But all before that, they had to go the Asia route, like where India is and the northern part of India, the lower part of the southern part of China, all through that area.
Yes.
So that was their migratory track. And that took thousands of years to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you have adaptations to what does it mean to travel in an area where the sand is constantly blowing, little fine silt blowing. How do you keep the silt out of your eyes? How you see? Well, you go around squinting.
Yes.
You squint enough, what happens to the muscles? Generically, they begin to what? Develop. So you don't have to squint so
Stages.
yes. So
Yeah.
there are many things we have no real counting and measuring proof. That's how Europeans define knowing.
Hmm.
But we have observations that we can talk about.
Would you mind explaining the axiology briefly for the Asians?
Okay, let's talk about the Asian axiology. The highest value lies in the cohesiveness of the group. All right, if you're going from one point of a desert through a mountainous area to another desert, that's like going across the Mongolian desert, that migratory trek from where we have now the stands, Uzbekistan, all those different stands that we have in there.
Yeah.
All right, when you look at those terrains, they're not all lush and beautiful. There are a lot of areas where you'd have to wait for a long time to decide which way to go.
Mm.
Do I go north or south or east or west or what's going to be over there? So you had encampments that last for several years in one place, and then people would completely, the soil and everything would be depleted and it would be time to move again. Well, somebody had to go and find the way to go and where it was. So they would move from one place to another and then settle. And in all of that moving, we have some issues like they had to take down the tents. The tents had skins on them and tent poles. So we get to where we're going to have the new encampment, and we ask, "Oh, we don't have enough tent poles. Who was supposed to bring the tent poles?" "Well, I thought you were." "Well, you thought she wasn't." "Well, we don't have enough. What happened?" "Who brought the skins?" "Well, I brought my part." "Well, you know, where are the rest of them?" So you can't survive with that behavior.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do then if the highest value lies in the cohesiveness of the group? Our group is going to survive from point A in the desert to point B in the next desert. How are we going to survive? Well, what we have to do is we have to know who's responsible for what tasks. So if you look at the metaphysical symbolism, the yin and the yang, male and female forces are in balance and harmony with each other. So that says that there are tasks for women and there are tasks for men. If you do what you're supposed to do and I do what I'm supposed to do, we stay in harmony, everything will be fine.
Mm.
So when you write the Chinese word for man, a part of it is a field, a square, a field. So the man goes out and works and brings the money where? Back home. And who takes care of the wealth?
The wife.
Now, women take care of the wealth. So let me give you an example. People say, "Oh no, the men, the men." Well, the men have the current currency, but the women have the gold and the diamonds and the rings. Let's look at the most recent example where that had to be a reality. When the Vietnamese War was over and that last helicopter left, there was a whole lot of people left there that had been on the side with the Americans. How do you get your family out of there? The currency is worthless. It's like Confederate money. The boatman is not going to take that Confederate money. He wants something viable. And who had something viable? The women. They had their gold, their diamonds, their rings, and what have you. And they took their wealth, that's the family's wealth, and paid to get their families out of there. Okay? So that's one way of looking at an ancient thing in a modern time. So if the highest value lies in the cohesiveness of the group, what do these people do in order to maintain the cohesiveness of the group? They are constantly thinking in terms of their 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 hierarchy and within the group. There's conformity within the hierarchy. Now, if you go to Japan, that is the place that is most axiologically pure in terms of the highest value lying in the cohesiveness of the group. Let me give you some examples. I live in Washington, D.C. People get on the subway, they're reading their newspaper. When they get through with it, some will throw it down, some will take a page or what they want out of it, some will take the whole thing, put it under their arm, and get off. In Japan, I saw a man read the newspaper, put it all back together, and just as he was getting off, there was a little rack, and he put the newspaper up on the rack and got off. 3 stops later, somebody came in, took the newspaper down, read it, and when they got off, put it back. Okay. Now, here in Washington, you said, that's my paper. I ain't giving my paper to nobody. I didn't read my paper. If I want to throw it on paper, I'll throw it down, but I ain't giving it to nobody. Okay.
I wouldn't even touch the paper because you might think we think something's in the paper.
Okay. All right.
Something else.
Okay. Okay. Now, here's another example. I came out of the train station, out of the subway one time in Japan, and the rain was just pouring down. It was like, just deluge. And the man that was responsible for the station opened the door and brought a big barrel of umbrellas. Everybody took an umbrella and went home. Wow. I said, now, this was Washington, D.C. Somebody was stolen umbrellas and sold them for $1 a piece.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is the reality? The next morning, everybody brought that umbrella back and put it right back in that barrel because they are one person. You see what I'm saying? They are family. It's not I am an individual. I am a member of a family.
Yeah.
You see the thinking? The highest value lies in the cohesiveness of the group. And Japan says we are a group. That's why it's so difficult for people to go there trying to work or integrate into the Japanese society. We belong. We are. And the rest of you are foreigners. Even the Koreans that were taken there in 1906 or 7, something like that, to work and have been there for many generations. It's only in the last few years that they didn't have to carry a card saying they were Korean, even though they were 3rd, 4th generation born in Japan. Because they were foreigners, they were different. But that cohesiveness of the group. All right, let's okay, again, when you're writing Chinese for group, you have the symbol for monarch and sheep. The king leads and the sheep follow. But they don't do that unless they have talked about it. So in order to have a cohesive group, you've got to come to a consensus. And when you write the characters for consensus, one of them is voice, and the other one underneath it is heart. So in order to come to a consensus, what you say with your mouth, you got to feel with your what?
Heart.
Yes. Now, how many times have we said something with our voice we didn't mean with our heart? Are you going to help me with the project? Call me. Are you coming to my meeting? I'm going to try as hard as I possibly can to get there. Okay? That's just mouth. Ain't no heart in that anywhere. Okay? So the Chinese said, now look, we don't play that. What you say with your mouth, you got to mean with your heart. Now, interestingly, when you write mouth and heart together, that's the Chinese word for intent. So if I know how you think and feel, I know your intent. And when we all have the same intent, we're going to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day to produce 1,500 widgets. We have said it with our heart and our voice. Our intent is there. Then you go to the next character is we can now all come together and we can speak with one mouth. All that's got to come out of only what? One mouth. Then you have a consensus. Then you can act as a conformist in the hierarchy. See how their axiology works?
Yes.
Okay. All right, questions from the audience or questions from anyone else?
Yeah. Um, so it seems like, so when you're working like in your purest value system, that's where the good stuff is. Like that's
That's
where
it.
you can really. So now, with all the different values systems that you have, is there so like African Americans, like ours is at the top. I mean, well, ours is this value of relationships. But does that not mean that we don't have the other values that the other groups have, or is it,
No,
you know, or is it
crunch time. You always think of when there's an emergency.
okay?
Okay. All right. Let's look at a couple of these things. There's a knock on the door, and there's a nephew of yours standing there, and your sister or brother sent him to you because he's starting to use drugs, and you don't want him. You want them to take care of him, to do something with him. All right. Now, in the European culture, the highest value is in the object. So, if the highest value is in the object, they will place him where?
In a rehab.
That's it. Okay. In the black family, one will be the good cop, one will be the bad cop.
Mm.
Okay. And they're going to keep him right there and watch him and take care of him and make sure that he's doing what he's supposed to do. And if he has to go to rehab, he goes, yeah. But you have the good cop and the bad cop. Now, in some of those situations, you're farming him out. You're putting him someplace. You're not keeping him within the relationship of the family. Okay. Or, for an example, um, people overseas send their children to boarding schools. All right.
Yeah.
And that's what you do, European primarily, send them to a boarding school or send them off to the boarding school. Well, in black families, I'm going to send you to A so and so who lives up north, and you go to school up there
Yeah.
because you're again maintaining the relationship. See the bonds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So would you say that, with all of our highest values, each group, would you say that we're living in harmony or we're not living in harmony?
Well,
Meaning collectively.
yeah, each one of us has our own value, and my attitude is if you understand the value system of the other person, you can work together. And I'm saying that when we have to talk about epistemology.
Mhm.
That's how people solve problems and know things.
Mhm.
When you utilize all of those different ways of knowing, we have the knowledge of all the world right here in this culture, in the United States.
Mhm.
Are we going to waste it or are we going to utilize it? Because there are different people that know all kinds of things. And if we don't support it or we keep pushing them down, they don't make progress.
Mhm.
And you're missing out on something. Now, let's go. Are there any other questions about any of these other groups that we have now?
No, I don't think so. No.
All right. In the native culture, it's the highest value lies in oneness with the Great Spirit. They are very spiritual people. I have a friend who's Native American. She has long hair, and as she plaits her hair in the morning, she's saying prayers,
Mhm.
almost like it's a rosary. She's plaiting her hair, saying prayers. It's a constant desire to be in contact with the Great Spirit because that guides you and leads you. That's their highest value. And the 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 information that you have on the bottom there where it says Native American, you can go online and see that. That's a very interesting thing that you can go in and look to see how oneness with the Great Spirit is indeed their value system. Okay.
Okay.
All right, now let's look at epistemology. Epistemology asks, how do you know? Not what you know, but how do you go about knowing something? All right. In our culture, one knows through symbolic imagery and rhythm. Okay. And the idea of those two things in modern physics is quantum theory or thought. Okay. Now we always have to quote white people. Okay. So what did Plato say that Black people did? Plato said we are people who use intuition. So what is intuition? It's the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. See, when you look at the Europeans, they know through counting and measuring, which is conscious reasoning. But we know it through intuition. We intuit the knowledge. All right, symbolic imagery and rhythm. What is symbolic imagery? Proverbs, parables, little statements, sometimes sounds are symbolic imagery. Let me give you an example. Felicia brings this lovely young man to her home. He is so wonderful. He has all kinds of degrees and he has investments and he is so wonderful. And her grandmother's sitting in a corner in the rocking chair. And she looks at the young man and she says, About 2 months later, everybody knows that what grandma said, symbolic imagery, it do be true. Now, how did she know? That's intuition. And she knew through the symbols that he was demonstrating how wonderful he is, all the rest of this stuff. She knew it was bullshit. Pardon me. She knew.
Yeah.
And she saw right straight through it. Okay. Now, proverbs, parables, and things are things that we use within the culture. And they're prevalent. Like I said, when two elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. Then get out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other part of that is rhythm. Now, I'm not clapping the hands, but there are biorhythms that we're just beginning to learn about in Western culture. Let me give you an example. Here in Washington, D.C., you have the National Institutes of Health. And they used to have liver. They would bombard the liver for treatment with X-ray type of machinery. Okay, they would bombard it. Well, the clinics open at 7. They would wheel people in and bombard it, and people would be ill. Now, why? It took a long time for them to realize that the liver said, "Look, I have to do my job first. So don't be bombarding me until I get through with what I have to do for the day. Then you can bombard me later." That's putting it as easily as I can. In other words, the liver did not respond to being bombarded with those electrons that early in the morning because it had not done its function as a liver. When they finally realized that, then they did the bombardment later and people got better. Okay? So everything has its own rhythm. We have internal rhythms that we have. We have cycles and we have rhythms. Menstrual cycle, gestation, all those are rhythms that we have. We have rhythms in terms of other parts of our body, our brain. Sleep, the brain has rhythms. All these things have rhythms. And we have not been willing to look at them until recently. Now we realize that it's important. So we connect machines to people to do the what? Counting and measuring. That's how Europeans know, through counting and measuring. All right. When I talk about symbolic imagery and rhythm to a white group of people, they will not understand unless I put it into something that can be what? In their epistemology, which means put it in something that can be counted and measured.
Yes.
All right? Okay. So symbolic imagery and rhythm. So I have to transliterate my epistemological model to fit their epistemological model. Otherwise, they won't accept it. All right. Let's start. Rhythm. When you go to the doctor, he takes a stethoscope and he listens to the what of your heart.
The rhythm.
Yes. And if the heart is out of rhythm, it is not functioning properly. All right. So that's rhythm. Using the same example, he connects you to an EKG machine And you get these little scribbles, which are symbolic what? Images.
Yeah.
And if they are out of line, then the heart is not what? Functioning properly. But now, how long did it take Nichols to move from my epistemology to theirs? If they had accepted my way of knowing, we could have gone light years ahead toward the project and resolved it.
Yeah.
But because they demanded that I put it into their way of knowing,
Yeah.
you see?
Yeah, this is good.
Okay.
Yeah, this makes so much sense. It answers a lot of questions.
Yeah. Well, see, you were going your own path. You knew what you were doing. And they kept saying to you, well, where's part A? Where's part B? This isn't connecting.
Mm.
That's scattered. Where is it? It just has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He said it doesn't work that way. Now let me give you an example of these two. Excuse me. Counting and measuring. Now let's go to the rest of this and I'll give you an example. In the European culture.
Wait, one second, Doc.
Uh-huh.
I got this from Tony Browder. Do you have any water that you can drink right now?
Yes. Oh, Tony. Okay, yes, Tony. He's always Tony always wants me to say hydrated. There I am.
That's right.
You're a national treasure. You're a national treasure, Dr. Nichols.
All right, let's look now at the rest of this, parts to the whole. That's they now, who said it? So you have to go to the Great White Father to tell you. So you can quote him with white people. That was Democritus. Democritus was an animist. He said everything's of these very small particles that once we learned that we could actually realize that there are small particles that come together and form a substance, he used the term atom, as his whole group of philosophers were called atomists. So Democritus gives us the word atom and the concept of small things coming together from the ether to make a substance. Okay? Now with us, we are holistic thinkers. We want to know, what is the big picture? Give me the big picture. Don't give me all these little parts trying to put it together. What are you talking about? Give me the big picture. Now, how do I get people to deal with this? Europeans are saying, well, everything can be counted and measured. Everything is parts to the whole. I said, well, fine. How many of you had algebra? I said, well, tell me, what is algebra? Well, it's A plus B. No. That's an example. I want to know, what is algebra? Which is, what is the big what?
Picture.
What is the big picture? What are you talking about? So you see, when we start things in schools and classes with Black people, you have to tell them what you're talking about. What are you talking about? All right. Let's now go to the methodology. In European culture, everything has to be linear and sequential. So you have Roman numeral 1, then a slight indentation, capital A, a slight indentation, small, lowercase 1, then lowercase a. It's always that kind of breakdown, parts to the whole. Now, the other part of that that's very important is to look to see what we do. We use what is called critical path analysis, and that in the vernacular is cut to the chase. So we want to know the big picture and cut to the chase. Yeah. And in European culture, they are counting and measuring parts to the whole in a linear sequential pattern. Now let's go to elementary school. We are now in the 3rd grade, and I'm going to give you a big stretch of imagination. I am a white woman, because most 3rd grade teachers are white women in their late 20s, early 30s. And I'm teaching a class that's a mixed race class. All right. We have Leroy in this class. All right. Now, today, boys and girls, we are going to start our new unit for the week. So the new unit is the object that we're going to learn for this week. In this, I'm going to give you a series of parts that become the whole, which is I'm going to give you exercises that you take home and do the little exercise each night. We'll correct it the next day in class, and you'll do exercise A on Monday and B on Tuesday and C on Wednesday. And we're going to do all those exercises, and on Friday, we will take the test. Now, that's the method of teaching. But Leroy gets part A, part B, part C, part D, and on Friday, that's the whole for the test. But Leroy thinks holistically, so he thought that what you gave him part A was indeed a what? A whole concept. B was a whole concept. C was a whole concept. D was a whole concept. It took him almost 2/3 of the semester to realize that these were just parts that became the whole. So on the test between now and 2/3 of the semester, he's failed everything. Today, and for the rest of the semester, he's getting almost everything perfect. Now, here's Leroy that got nothing right, and all of a sudden he's getting everything right. The teacher asked him, stand up, Leroy. You got everything correct. Tell us from whom you what?
Cheated.
Cheated.
Okay. I ain't cheat. Well, then how did you get the answers? Now, Leroy, at 8 years of age, in the 3rd grade, where that's the beginning of the path from school to the prison, 3rd grade, black boys, okay? He can't tell you that I was a holistic thinker and I use critical path analysis. But that's what he did. Now, the accusations that she makes is destroying the what?
Relationship.
And he's going to do what to him? Treat him with what?
Disrespect.
In front of all his peers.
God. Yeah.
Okay. And he's going to be her worst nightmare till the end of the year. And then she'll get even by transferring him to special ed. Putting him on the path. Now let's examine what actually happened. At the end of the arithmetic textbook, the teachers have the steps that you need to take in order to solve the problem. There are 7 steps. Let me see if I can get my fingers into all that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 steps. All right. In order to solve the problem and for the teacher to agree that you've done it well, you must do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, and step 7. Leroy uses critical path analysis. He does a 1, 4, 7. Now the teacher is asking, where is step 2 and 3? Well, for Leroy, this is step 1. This is step 2. There is no, it doesn't exist. What's right here doesn't exist for Leroy. She keeps screaming, where is it? Where is it? He said, he can't say, I don't know. He doesn't know because he doesn't need it. He is using critical path analysis, and she doesn't understand critical path analysis. And what sometimes happens when you're in other classes, like calculus or something, the teacher will say, if you don't do it the way I'm teaching it, even though you get the right answer, I will mark you down. Well, that's very unfair because it isn't how I do it, is do I get the correct answer? So you can see that a child's innate capacity, his own epistemological model, is thwarted by this idea that everything has to be parts to the whole, linear, sequential, counting and measuring. So the creativity is lost.
This is so unfair. this is unfair, because that's how the SATs, all these Common Core, all of these tests are designed this way. And that's not how we learn. That's not how we get, come up with information. And so we're like going into the system already, failing in their eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like, this
Yes.
is, wow.
Let me give you an example for a Black guy going to medical school. Those that get in the first 2 years, those are the preclinics.
Mm-hmm.
That's the physiology, anatomy, and what have you. And those are all those count and measure courses. They don't do as well. But now once they get to the clinics, they excel, because they walk in the room and they see the whole patient.
Yes.
And they cut to the chase for the diagnosis.
Yes. And they understand relationships, right? And so that patient doctor patient piece is there. You know what I'm saying? So that just makes a harmonious situation.
Is it making sense?
Oh, yes.
Yes, very much so.
This is so exciting. Because now we have actual words. I work in a school. So I'm thinking, I was like, tomorrow we about to have a conversation, because this is, we're literally fitting a square peg into a circle.
Yeah.
And we could get what we can out of kids, and they can be thriving if we're just allowing them to be who they are showing up to be, and giving them information. I mean, getting and receiving information this way. Oh, this is great.
Well, the way you handle that is you can simply say that Leroy is expressing his axiological preference.
Yes.
In that he's a holistic thinker, and he uses critical path analysis for his analysis.
I was going to tell
a word of what you're talking about doesn't matter, because they're going to go and look it up.
I was going to tell them to call Dr. Nichols, because Dr. It's like Dr. Nichols said, wow.
Is this helpful? Yes. Okay. All right.
Very good stuff.
Now, let's look very quickly at the Asian group. Theirs is a transcendental striving. That is, they will take the blade of grass and they will study it and study it and study it in all of its aspects. And the idea is that once I know it completely, I will know the whole meadow. I know the tree, I will know the forest. I know the drop of water, I'll know the ocean. See, it's a transcendent concept. If you know the smallest details of this, then you can connect it to its universal. That's a transcendent. So they wanted to learn arithmetic. And arithmetic, the first thing you have to learn are your numbers. And of numbers, 7 is a sacred number. It's what else they call it? Different kinds of ways they call 7. It's a positive number, a sacred number. Now, when you look at 7, it has different sets: 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, and then again 2 and 5, and 1 and 7. The Chinese very quickly recognize that the set of 2 and 5, if you manipulate those, you can do all forms of arithmetic rapidly. So they built a machine and they put the set of 2 above the bar and the set of 5 below the bar. And if you manipulate those beads on the abacus, you can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division rapidly. Now, that is a way to think. And when you are ready to read the answer with these beads in these different positions, you have to be able to see the whole abacus, the position of each of those beads simultaneously, or you cannot read it. So when you are reading Chinese characters, you must be able to see the whole character
Mhm.
and the position of each stroke, and all of that must be done simultaneously. You can't look at a character and go, it's not there. It's see it and say it.
Mm.
See,
All right, let's look at two systems. Now, the European system is linear and sequential.
mhm.
That's the barcode when you go to the grocery store. Then what would the Japanese develop as whole and part seen simultaneously? The QR code.
Mm.
The machine has to see it, the whole and the position of each part. How? Simultaneously. Or you can't read the QR code.
Mm.
So they have taken their epistemology and put it into something practical for their culture and their society.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Okay, now let's look at let's look at logic. Um, Vernon Dixon, a brilliant scholar, he's dead now. Brilliant scholar, not just a scholar, a brilliant brother. And he is the one that gave us the word diunital. He first presented it as epistemology, and I argued with him and beat him half to death. And he finally realized that I was right, and it's a form of logic. So that's a shame on Nichols, but I did it anyway. Diunital is if you have two things that are in opposition, but you bring them to union, that's the diunital.
Mm.
Two things ostensibly in opposition come to union, that's diunital. Now you see, Du Bois talked about the double consciousness, and they were never able to fit it together, you know. But Vernon Dixon brings it together.
Mm.
Now, if diunital is what we use, a union of opposites, since I have Latins also in the same box, do they share a common logic system that's the same? Yes, they do. It's called difracismo, and it comes from the Aztec thought process. And the scholar who wrote about that is Del, I can't see it, you can see it on yours.
M1 port.
Yeah,
That
Portela. Yeah,
Portela.
yes. Now, in that Arabs are in that same one, do the Arabs have the same logic system? Of course, there it is. And who it's there, see it, bar,
Barzak.
okay?
Yeah.
And it is the in between. So what his says, and his is that he tells us that here's an opinion and here's an opinion, and the answer is the in between. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have African, Latinx, and Arab systems of logic that are all the same within their own language system. Now let's look to see the European. The European logic system is dichotomous. So we have binary, 0, 1, and all things that we use, a lot of things that are nothing wrong with binary. But the issue is that when they misuse dichotomous logic, or they design it so one is good and one is bad, the moment you hear that, that's a misuse.
Yeah.
You could be aggressive or you can be passive. There's no quality to that. But if you say to be aggressive is good, to be passive is bad, you see you're now developing a way of thinking. And the algorithms are developed in these ways. So the algorithm will say one is good and one is bad. And if the Republicans are good, then these are bad aspects of the Democrats. Or These are good aspects of the Democrats, and these are bad aspects of the Republicans. And once you start doing that, you go right down the rabbit hole.
Mhm.
So let me give you an example. If I say to you aggressive, then submissive would be the other side. And there's no value there. Assertive, submissive, aggressive, passive, powerful, powerless. There's no value. Now, when you put value, and I say to be assertive is good and to be submissive is bad, in some cultures, to be submissive is good and to be assertive is bad. See, it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to give you these two. So one is assertive, aggressive, powerful, strong, fearless, intelligent, and independent. And the other side is submissive, passive, powerless, weak, fearful, ignorant, and dependent. Now, once I put male on the assertive, aggressive side,
Mhm.
female on the submissive, passive side, I'm saying that men are assertive, aggressive, powerful, strong, fearless, intelligent, and independent.
Mhm.
And women are submissive, passive, powerless, weak, fearful, ignorant, and dependent. Now I can say that, but unless I socialize, remember I told you about seeing something over and over and over and over again? Well, then you have to develop a way of making people believe that to be the truth. So, what do I say to little girls that makes them believe that these things are true? I say to them, ah, don't go in that dark room. Something will what?
Get you.
Yes. So we're making her fearful.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, don't try to do that. Get her to help you. I'm saying that you're not what?
Smart
Strong enough to do it.
to
Okay.
do.
Get your brother to help you. All right. Don't take algebra because algebra is too.
All right.
Take French. Nobody ever told you about all the damn irregular verbs in French, did they? Okay. Now, what I'm doing is I'm developing an algorithm that's based on male, female.
Yeah.
Now, male, female, good, bad. Now, white, black. So white males are good because they are assertive, aggressive, powerful, strong, fearless, intelligent, and independent. They aspire to wealth because they're industrious, thrifty. They live in prompt. They live in clean, beautiful, valuable suburban housing, paid for with oil depletion allowances, farm subsidies, and tax shelters. And their wives dutifully bring them cocktails in the evening, a can of beer, or some other substances these days. And legitimacy is required to pass on wealth to their children. Now we go from good to bad, male to female, white to black. Black women are submissive, passive, powerless, weak, fearful, ignorant, and dependent. They live in poverty because they're lazy, they're wasteful, they're never on time, and because they're promiscuous and hedonistic, they have a lot of dirty, ugly, worthless children that drain our resources with welfare, and they keep on giving them uh, extra babies. Now, have you ever heard that before? And because of that algorithm, that when you look at the Welfare Reform Act that Clinton signed, these are the characteristics that you hear and that you read that are defining Black women. Are you seeing the misuse of dichotomous logic? It forms isms, and it's what a part of the algorithms that go right straight down the line. Now, you can do that for any group. You can set up your own, but that's
Mhm.
the basic structure of an algorithm is the misuse of dichotomous logic. You place it in dichotomy, and then you start to misuse it by saying that one column is good, the other is bad. Then you have to tell me, well, who is good and who is bad? Well, men are good and women are bad, or white men are good and black men are bad, or what have you. And then you go down the line, finding any data that you can saying these things are true. Are you beginning to see the danger of algorithms? And of course, once you have this algorithm, and I go into an AI situation and ask about Black women, what's going to come out? What kind of report will come out about Black women?
Mm.
You, is it connecting for you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, let's any questions that you might have that I can.
Yeah, but I think I might want to ask this question because I'm pretty sure there's a story behind it. But maybe I'll ask this question when you finish. I'll wait till you finish.
Go ahead. Yeah, we'll do it.
Well, I just wanted to know what put you on to this journey of coming up with this philosophy, and how long did it take?
Okay. Well, let me give you examples. I'm 94. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. Okay. That's my home. And Detroit, with the motor factories and all those things there, was a blue collar town, but it raised their children as middle class. So in my elementary school, we had 3 separate units. We had a gymnasium by itself, a swimming pool, and an auditorium. Now today, even if you go to the suburbs, all of those are combined into the gym, and the auditorium are combined as to one, in the lunchroom. They're all one thing, even in the best, most expensive suburbs. But at that time, we had 3 different units. That's elementary school. So we had classes where we went and we learned how to stand on the stage and to make speeches and to have plays and what have you. All of us had gymnastics, and we started swimming at 8. I guess 8 or 9. I guess we were 9 kids at 9. My father gave me my membership to the YMCA when I was 7, so I was a swimmer by the time we got to the rest of the class got to swimming. Okay. Now, I keep teasing my parents and saying they gave me all these privileges and training. It prepared me to be a count, but there's so few vacancies left, for a count these days. But they gave me everything that I needed and more than I wanted. Anything that I thought I wanted, they provided it for me. Okay. Now, a lot of times you couldn't get it in Detroit. You had to go across the river into Windsor to get it. So for dance and horseback riding and fencing, I went across to the other side. And if you pay the money, you can get it, the training. Okay. Now, with all of that, I was in the Army for 2 years. And before I went to the Army, after I graduated high school in Salt Lake City, Utah. My dad had asthma. And we went out there for his health. And because we went out there for his health, it killed the rest of us because the Mormons were out there. And at that time, blacks had no soul. So and I went to register for high school. And I said, what high school am I to attend? They said, what is your address? I said, it's 255 East 7th South. They said, oh, yes, that's East High. I said, what is the academic high school? Oh, that's East High. I said, well, I'll go to East. And the 2 clerks looked at each other and they said, well, you might be more comfortable at West High School. And I said, well, why would I be more comfortable at West? Well, there are more of your kind there. I said, well, how many of my kind are there? She looked at the other clerk. She says, a lot. What is I think there's 11 or 12. Well, I said, I'll see them all on one Saturday afternoon. So I went to East High. And when I got there, I thought there'd be a brother up there somewhere. So there's somebody up there. Well, I was it. They had never had a black. I was the only black. And when I graduated, they rezoned the city. So they'll never make that mistake again. Okay. That's my high school. That's when I graduated from high school. I come back to Detroit. I have no marketable skills. So I went to Lewis Business College, which was a black business college in Detroit, for a year. I learned how to type, take shorthand, do bookkeeping, and filing. I went immediately into the Army at 19. And I was able, in less than a week, to get my corporal stripes because I set out a roster telling them who was supposed to clean up the barracks on what day. Okay, alphabetically, I typed it out and everything. And the Sergeant King said, Did you do that? I said, yes. Can you do that? I said, sure. He said, well, we're going to give you a stripe. So I went from a private first class to a corporal. All right. Now, so achievement has always been a part of everything that I do. All right. I've enjoyed it. In 1955, I'm trying to catch up with my class because I've been 2 years in the Army and a year in the business college, and I'm trying to catch up with where I felt I should be at that age. Okay. I go to school in Canada, to Assumption College. Now I'm ready for the master's degree. The place where you made money was in industrial psychology. You go into a company, and when you go to that company, you improve their productivity and the decision-making process. They offer you a job when you graduate, and that's with stock. That's one of the questions that you ask. Is that with stock? Otherwise, you won't go and work for them. Well, University of Michigan and Michigan State see those as special jobs, and they limit the number of blacks or put no blacks in them. Just like at that time, clinical psychology was limited to very few black students. Okay? Now, they don't tell you in the North you can't go here, but they put stumbling blocks in your way. So you have to do a 1-year practicum. And for the white students, the practicum list went from the ceiling to the floor of all these companies screaming for someone to come and do work with them to make them profitable. Semicolon, however, comma, none of them would take black Nichols. So the university said it would be unfair for us to accept you in the program, realizing you could not fulfill the requirements for graduation. Now, that was not new as an idea to me, those kinds of things. In my father's church, my daddy went to Bethel AME, African Methodist Episcopal. That's not daddy's church, okay? There were people that before the World War II, they had studied in Europe. So it wasn't uncommon for people to have studied in Europe. So the suggestion was to go to study in Europe, but nobody knew where to send me. It's not the place, it's under whom you study. That's when you were reading all that. You studied under Kretschmer, studied under all these different people. It's under whom you study. Okay? So in our larger circle of friends, there was a German Jew, and he said, send Edwin to Kretschmer at Tübingen. I went to Kretschmer at Tübingen, and I did my practicum at Mercedes-Benz and Zeiss Icon, the camera company. And because I'm black, I knew they'd want something else. I did some private work for his Kretschmer had his little hustle on the side. He would get contracts, and he had to send students out to do the work, and I got paid. Okay, so I got work experience, I got practice, I got it all. I came back to Cleveland, I came back to Detroit. One of the guys that I had supervised in Germany was in Cleveland. He's getting ready to go back to Germany because he's got to finish his training. This company thought he came over to this country, Hans came over to this country to learn what we're doing here, improve his English, and take it back to Germany. When he got here, the Germans were ahead of us. He was introducing ideas that we didn't know about. Now he's ready to go, and they want these ideas because this is a consulting company. They need to make the money. He said, well, my supervisor is an American. He just came back from Germany. He lives in Detroit. Why don't you give him a call and see if he will come and work for you? They called me. And of course, once you realize who's on the line, my articulation changes just a bit so that I'm totally not identifiable as one of those people. So they promise everything. Oh, come over. We need you. We need you. We need you. And of course, when I arrived, the secretary was typing, and she didn't look up. It's like, put the package over there or something like that. And of course, in European culture, when you're stressed, you clear your voice and you should get some attention. She just kept right on typing. Well, in disdain, you drop your keys. They make a loud clanging noise. I dropped my keys. What do you want? I said, I'm Nichols to see Mr. Green with reference to the position of psychologist. The person we want is German or German speaking. Then this is the one place where Nichols loses it when you try to credential me. Don't try to credential me. If you don't know it, don't be trying to put blame on me when you don't know. You gave some mix up words like Deutsch or Dutch or something. I said, it's obvious that you don't speak German. Would you be kind enough to get Mr. Green? Well, you know it's going downhill from there. So in this room, there are 10 people in there. They have a master's degree. The one guy who is in charge has a bachelor's. He runs the company. And of course, he says, oh, how glad I am to see you. And he goes through all these changes. Then we start to play the game. I said, well, here's my diploma for the master's. He said, yes, well, but in this company, you'd have to do a practicum. I said, well, these are my Schein and Zeugnissen for the practicum, Mercedes-Benz and Zeiss Icon. Oh, and Zeiss Icon. He said, well, yes. I said, but what you want is practical on-the-job experience. It's just imperative. I said, well, here's my letter of reference for the practical work with SUVs and Zeiss Icon and Mercedes-Benz. Oh dear, it's time to go to lunch. Well, that's the secret.
Oh my.
So we go to this place and I'm looking at this French restaurant. And I look at this man and I look at him a little bit and listen to his French. And I said, he's Algerian. He ain't metropolitan French. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in my broken French, I try to explain to him what the game is. He understands. And in Algerian culture, people in the kitchen get darker as you go deeper in the kitchen, okay? You put white coats on all those brothers and brought them all out and started serving. They had never had dinner like that, lunch like that in their lives. Now, when they come back from lunch, I demonstrate to them what it would be if they had hired me in terms of things that you learn. Because I had learned from a Nazi, okay? All kinds of things they didn't think about. Now, let's go to what happens. He says, well, I can't hire you because the secretary said she would quit before she would work in an office with Negroes. Okay. So I've done everything that I'm supposed to do plus, and I don't get the job. Now I'm not proud. So I went back to the YMCA and I looked for they had this lady that had a chalkboard. She'd write on the chalkboard all the jobs. They were all erased. The only thing left was a short order cook from 11 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning, 6 days a week in the heart of the Black ghetto. And the woman that owned the restaurant was a large Black woman. She ran the restaurant. Now, here's where we hurt each other, okay? Now, I went and I was in competition with Creole. Now, they are not just handsome or good looking. They is pretty. He had light eyes. He had high yellow, not just yellow, high yellow, and that soft, beautiful, curly hair. He was gorgeous. And then there was Nichols, okay? Put that pot on the stove, Nichols. I say, man, help me. Nichols, put that on there. And she just beat me to death. On Friday night, people coming in. There was no hamburger places like we have now, McDonald's, and none of that existed at that time.
Yeah.
People are just running in there. If you want a hamburger, I got to make the hamburger, fry it. If you want chicken, I got to fry it. She said to him, cut up the chickens. He didn't know how to cut up the chicken. She said, Nichols, can you cut up the chicken? I said, what do you want, halves or quarters? All my aggression was out cutting those chickens up. All right, I got the job. All right. Now I'm sharing with you two things. I'm sharing with you the racism that I had to encounter and then the colorism that I had to encounter. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Okay. That's what we do to our own people. You see? Okay. Now I'm thinking, well, Nichols, you need a PhD. So now I go to a fellowship. I get a fellowship. They give it 10 from all the world. Austria gives 10 to all applicants from all over the world. And I got the one for North America. And I went to study at Innsbruck. Okay. I do all the work, dissertation, everything. And I come back. And General Motors has a college in Flint, Michigan. And it's the General Motors College. They want to establish apprenticeship programs. to train these young men that are getting the degree how to work in the factories, and to train a workforce that comes right out of high school, learning the trade, and then going into General Motors. Well, whose dissertation is that? Mine.
Mm.
Boy, they were all excited. I get up there, get out of the car, and the man greets me. He's a little cool, but we go in, we talk, and I'm all excited. I show him all the papers on what else you want to translate, anything you want. And what does he do? He looks at, he says, "You have everything that I want and more than I could have hoped for, but you know you should not have applied. You're a Negro."
Mm.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, well, how can I work with a group of people that see me always as a deficit and keep my own sanity?
Yeah.
I've got to know how they think, how they measure, how they work. So when I got my job with the National Institute of Mental Health, I was the first Black that was a center chief. And that was because the Black psychiatrists that I had trained at Meharry and other places petitioned the National Institute of Mental Health to hire some Blacks at a top level. They didn't want to. Every Black, they of course they said they couldn't find any, but these Black psychiatrists said, "We'll find them, and you're gonna pay for us to find them." And then they called me back and said, "We're gonna send you because we know you got all the papers." Okay, I went there. I was interviewed 5 times. I flew from Shaker Heights, Ohio to Washington, D.C. 5 times to be interviewed.
Mm.
And each time it was some more mess. And the last time that I came, I didn't realize it at first. I was sitting in Bertram Brown's office, and the man comes walking in, and he tells me, Bertram Brown says, "Oh, this is Herr Dr. Plaut." This man comes over to me and he says, "Guten Tag, Herr Dr. Nichols." Well, what do you think my response is? "Guten Tag, Herr Dr. Plaut." Bertram Brown says, "Dr. Plaut, Herr Dr. Plaut, Herr Dr. Plaut," that's very German, is going to take you to lunch, and I want you to explain to him what you would do if you become the chief of child and family mental health. We start for lunch, and already he makes 2 grammatical errors. He cannot form the dative. Now you have to, somebody that's German will have to tell you, or have to look online and find out how important it is to form the dative. I listen, as you didn't form the dative. But I kind of I let it pass. And then I asked him, I said, "You're not born German?" He said, "Oh, no, my parents were German, and I learned German from my parents." And I said, "Oh, I see." Then I'm still not understanding what it's supposed to be. We go down the lunch line. He doesn't know the German names for all of the vegetables. To say nothing of the article that goes with it. And then the evil, Black comes out, the monster. So I say, "Oh, I forgot my flatware. Pass her to me." They have a knife, fork, and a spoon. One of them is her, the rest is a he, and the other is an it. He didn't know the her. Okay? So now he's wanting me to talk about what I'm going to do, and I start talking. And he says, "In English, I don't understand." So I just continue in German, and I just build it to a point where I give him so much information. I know he can't hold all of it in his head, and then I give him the verb at the end, and I sit there. And he says, "Could we do this in English?" I said, "I have no problem with English. It's my mother tongue." Okay. Now, I'm sharing that with you because I got the job, but the center was here, and the money for the center is over here. So I can't do anything without the money.
Mm.
Now, I'm trying to get the money from over there over here. And I know the way their logic system works for how they are going to evaluate if I request the money be transferred from my system. But I'm Catholic trained, and I did not use their logic system. I used St. Thomas Aquinas. They didn't even know who he was or how his logic system worked. But now let me show you what happened. I'm a center. Here's the division, and there's the institute. This guy is acting as division head. He wants to be division. in charge of the division. They can't cope with what I wrote. Logically, they can't break down my argument. So they say to him, withdraw his letter from us so we don't have to make a decision, and we will make you permanently the division head. That's what he did. I had to fight for a long time. But those are the kinds of things that I'm telling you. If you don't understand who they are, highest values in the object, count and measure, parts to the whole, linear sequential, either or, then you don't survive. You don't survive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, there's one other thing that I'll share with you.
Okay.
Yes.
I was put in charge of a center. This is years later, another center. They did not want me there at all. You can imagine why.
Yeah.
I went to the center, and it's very interesting that as soon as anybody Black took a center over, the budget was cut in half.
Mm.
You see, which reduces your ability to produce. Right?
Yeah.
So that's one part of it. Okay? And then when you have a center, you're responsible for a program. And if they're not going to give you the money, you can't really develop the program like you want. Okay? And of course, you run into people that don't want you there because they don't want a Black boss over them. It's another thing. Now, I went acting Black, which was my mistake.
Mm.
I said, colleague, how many years of experience do you have as a psychologist? 20, 30, 20, 35. Went around the room. I wrote down what each person said. I added them all up. I said, we have more than 250 years of clinical experience in this center. So any question that comes up, we should be able to answer any problem that comes up and send to us.
Yeah.
And while you work on those things, I will work to get us more money.
Mm.
I was acting like what? Member to what?
Member.
Now, how do they work? Member to what? Object. Now, this is how they treated me as object. I said, I want you to write out for me what skills you have and what functions you've been performing.
Mm.
I'll know what you've been doing so I can get an understanding. The papers they wrote, I mean, they were just horrible. They didn't quote anything current or research or anything. And that's when the Black evil, you know what, came out in Nichols. I said, okay, I'm in a different environment. I will have to go back. This is when they started calling me the Nazi, okay? Because I went back to what I had learned in Germany. I called them in one by one and I said, if this is indicative of your writing skills, you'll have to reconsider your rank because this is not the level of a 14 or a 13.
Mm.
These are the grammatical errors. I'm hoping that you'll be able to clear that up. But in terms of the scientific value, you've not quoted anything that's current. This is the National Institute for Mental Health. We have hundreds of research projects that would be less than 5 years old. A book is at least 10 years old. You quote something here that's 20 or 30 years old. This is not what I expected as quality of the work.
Mm.
I give you 2 days to correct it and bring it to me properly, or it will go against your rating and evaluation. And of course, you know, this would be a part of your permanent file. Okay? Now, what did I do? I made a shift from treating them as what?
Relationships.
Yes, to treating them as a what?
Counts and measures.
And we counted them with everything.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Wow.
Wow.
This is awesome, Dr. Nichols.
Okay.
We're definitely gonna have to invite you back.
Yeah, you got to come back. You got more to say. We have more to listen.
We can listen to your stories. You know.
Yeah, I know, but that's, you know, I appreciate the honor of being here with you. But I do hope that the thing about the critical path analysis with children, we really have to be mindful of that, because a lot of our kids are lost because they think differently. And just because I don't know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 doesn't mean I can't answer the problem.
Absolutely.
You see?
Yeah.
And that's important. We have to know that, because they weed a lot of kids out because of that.
Yes.
Okay. And we also have to recognize that when you get into a situation where your value system is not honored, like I was, I'm trying to teach them as what? Equals.
Yeah.
And they're treating me like with disrespect. Now, once I turned and began to treat them as objects, we had no more problems.
Makes so much sense.
And the only way I deal with that is I work white and I come home and live black.
God, that should have been the title of this show.
Wow.
Working white, living black.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's so I can, I was just thinking about some people who actually get trapped in the work white and they bring the white home.
Oh.
Or they bring the white in our community, and I can, man, this is, wow.
Okay, well, I appreciate the honor that you've given me to share concepts and ideas, and I'm very thankful for it. And if I can be of assistance to you at some other time or answer some of the questions that have come in, and you want me to try to give an answer to, I'll be very glad to do that.
All
Well,
right.
we're definitely going to do our homework. We're definitely going to take what you gave us and definitely apply it to our worldview.
Good.
Yeah, we got to share. Yeah, we got to share this.
Yes.
Family, make sure you are liking and subscribing to HAPI, but make sure you send this video out. Okay,
Yeah.
you need to, everyone needs to send this video out, because we all tomorrow have to get up and go and work white. So please, please send this video out so we're clear about what we're doing out here in these streets.
Please send what do you call it? Send me a copy of this. Yeah.
Yes.
The video. Will you do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate it so much.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to say good night.
Okay.
It's late.
Thank you. Yes.
Appreciate it.
Hour just kept going, but thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
All right.
Good
Thank you much.
And tell Tony I'm still drinking my liquid.
I definitely will. Definitely will. All right. Peace.
Peace.
There we go. Wow.
I told you. I told you. That's why we needed to have him on the show.
Absolutely. I got to figure. Oh, yeah. The education piece, man. This is the life. This is the what is it like when you're drowning and someone sends you gives you the little the life. What is it called?
Server.
Yes. This is the
Yeah.
life preserver right
Yeah.
here. Yeah. This was excellent. Yeah. Good job, Hassan.
Well, I hope that the HAPI family enjoyed it. They stuck around for 2 hours. They definitely stuck around, so that's a good thing. That's definitely a good thing. We appreciate y'all spending y'all time with us, definitely, because you could have been any other place, but you spent it with us.
Yes. Well, there it is. All right. Well, peace, family.
All right, we see y'all the next time. Oh, wait. We got a show coming up on Sunday, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's another really good show too. Tell the family about it.
So this is going to be based on melanin and the functions of melanin and what we should know about melanin and what we should know about the lack of melanin. And we will have Dr. Timothy Owens Moore. He's a specialist and he's just going to drop a lot of jewels on us. So come spend your time with us again on Sunday at 7 p.m. All right. And that's that. And we will get with y'all on Sunday. All right. Peace and love.
Peace and blessings.
I I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority. Honestly,
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?